Hi everyone, I'm Joseph Daya. I was astonished in reflecting on the past 4 years because none of what happened could have possibly been predicted. From the beginning, all of us, Lucy and the original senior interns included, didn't have an archetype to fulfill for the program and its participants because there wasn't a predecessor. There were hopes and aspirations, sure, room to shape the program to our wishes, but freedom, though miraculous and invigorating, can especially in this case be incredibly daunting. I think we college students, but especially those with socially conscious minds, arrive frenzied at our institutions. How can we fit ourselves to the doors of so many organizations and activities? How can we explore our passions and ourselves to the maximum? These are the questions that I'm certain all of us are considering or have considered, especially keeping in mind that perhaps to a fault, we are quick to define ourselves by what we do and accomplish in our short 4 years. I think this is where the strength of the Bonner program is most highlighted, because we attempt to answer these questions in a way guided by a broader sense of who we are and become, and not wholly by the fleeting aspect of good deeds. We not only pick a site that conveys one of our passions to explore, we get to be influenced by and experience the journeys of other Bonners. We get to explore racial politics, food insecurity, and youth empowerment, to name a few, within a close-knit and supportive group. We get to witness and influence the forces that shape the Chapel Hill and greater communities. We get to write a story and listen to experiences of others as they write their own. Through the Bonner program, I've had the opportunity to work at the Jackson Center, an organization that was initially founded to preserve the vitality of a community in Chapel Hill, through preserving the life histories and oral accounts of their constituents. Ultimately, it promotes the idea of engagement, actively listening to and supporting the lives and experiences of others. In that engagement is where I found my niche, archiving oral history interviews in a publicly accessible platform. Much time has been spent and appreciated in listening to these accounts, processing them to make them accessible, crafting series around specific themes, and ideas that intertwine groups of narratives. Listening has been the cornerstone of my work at the Jackson Center. As I head off to other pursuits, I realized that listening was the cornerstone to my experiences at Bonner. Hearing and engaging with the narratives, opinions, and thoughts of my peers, developing myself through this active listening and reflection. Equally crucial was how I was reciprocally listened to. My thoughts and words, my narrative, were validated in a tumultuous time when I think they needed it most, and when I think that we all need that most. So for the past 4 years, I thank the Bonner program, and more importantly, you all for listening.
Hi. Oh, I'm like really loud. Okay. My name is Blanche. I'm from Tallahassee, Florida, and with all these wonderful people and a few other people out in the audience, I've been working at the Jackson Center for the past 4 years. We really just chose these in like a meeting in our first week of college, and it was just like, here, look at all these things, pick one, and we did, and it's worked out. What I've done has changed a lot from year to year, and it's gotten narrower and narrower. I think we all started doing a lot more of listening to oral histories, processing oral histories, doing a lot of administrative work, whatever really needed to get done. The Jackson Center has like changed a lot in the past 4 years too, and just like we're in a whole other we used to be located in the church, now we're in like the house next to the church, and just that's like general things I can keep going. I'm also really worried about time because I talk a lot, so. Right now, I primarily work with Fusion Youth Radio, which is a youth radio program with high school students in the area. And we focus on sort of identity politics and providing a platform for youth to express themselves, understand themselves. And I think that's just connected to what Bonner has done for me. I just have no idea what the past 4 years would have been like without Bonner. It really guided my experience. It led me to so many things and so many people. When I think about who my best friends are and who I have the closest, deepest community with right now. A lot of them are people I met through work at the Jackson Center, and I think that's really important. It's how I got involved with like organizing on campus even, and organizing in this area. It's how I started doing radio and got involved with music and WXYC here on campus. And yeah, it's just amazing. So much of the way I see the world and think about my place in it and on it has changed because of work at the Jackson Center, through things I learned through the Honor Program. The way I understand the kind of body that I have and how it relates to other kinds of bodies in the world, the way I think about power and selfhood, how I want to live my life in the future, how I want to build community and keep community and like bear witness, and as that as like a task in the way I want to live my life. I don't know if this is making sense to y'all, I'm kind of just rambling, but Bonner has been a thread to keep me whole through this experience, and college is a very intense, tumultuous, often like difficult experience, and I don't think that's like said a lot, and it's not designed to like be healthy, or I don't think it's designed to make people happy either. Sorry, this is my but Bonner for me has like been a way to study myself and to link all the different parts of myself. So I really have deep gratitude for everyone who's been a part of that experience. So yeah, okay.
Thank you all for joining us this afternoon to celebrate the graduation of our inaugural class of honors. My name is Paris Vaughn, and I'm a senior intern for our program. But before I was a senior intern, I started out at the Jackson Center. During my first few weeks, I spent my time listening to some of the oral histories that they had already done. After that, I started editing some of the audio clips that they had, which was kind of a learning experience because I had never dealt with audio clips before, but it was fun and interesting. So after listening to some of the oral histories, it was really interesting because after listening to someone speak for about an hour, I felt like I knew the person without actually meeting them in person. So that was really interesting to me. So after that, I started doing my own interviews, and my first interview was with Mama Dip, whose name is Mildred Council, and she owns the famous restaurant in Chapel Hill called Mama Dip's. And so she talked about her journey to become a business owner during a time when women didn't really own businesses, especially not Black women. And so it was a real honor to be able to have a one-on-one conversation with someone who's accomplished so much in their lifetime. So although my time at the Jackson Center was cut short because of becoming a senior intern, I learned quite a bit about civil rights while working at the Jackson Center. And so one of the events that stood out most to me was the Civil Rights Weekend. So every year they have a Civil Rights Weekend that honors the heroes of the Civil Rights Movement here in Chapel Hill. And before this event, I'd never really thought of the Civil Rights Movement being outside of places like Selma or Birmingham, so it was really interesting to see it from that perspective. So at one particular event, we hung photos taken by Jim Wallace, who was a photographer for the DTH in the 1960s. He had tons of pictures from the demonstrations and marches that took place in Chapel Hill and Scarborough. We hung the pictures on the wall in a gallery at the Jackson Center, and we had people from the community come and just walk around the room and look at the pictures. And we had notepads under each of the pictures so that they could write just their memory or their thoughts about the picture itself. And so something that happened that I wasn't really expecting to happen was some people were able to point themselves out in the pictures and give a little history about what they were feeling in that moment or what the march was about, which was something that really stuck with me. The Honor Program itself has taught me a lot about volunteer work. I learned about the difference between impact and intention and being aware about the long-term impact that your volunteer work may have on the community that you're working in. I learned to think critically about volunteer work, which is something that I hadn't really thought about before working with the Honor Program. It's been such an honor to be able to work with such socially conscious people, and I'm excited about what the program has in store. I'm super excited to come back next year and hear about the stories that future Bonners will have or younger Bonners below us. And so it's been a great experience for me, and thank you, Lucy, and thank you, Richard.
second year, I worked at Jackson Center. My second and third year, I worked at Jackson Center as a curriculum writer, then as a oral history evaluator. Then in my fourth year, I served as senior intern, working alongside that, the rest of the senior. So as my time as a senior intern, I've learned three main things. The first one is what I call how to stay in my lane. So I can realize that because of my intersecting identities, my worldview is fairly limited. So because of that, when I'm interacting with somebody, talking to them about their experiences, I know I have to shut up and listen. I have to basically learn from them and really validate their experiences. The second thing I learned, most important thing I learned, can neatly be summed up in my all-time favorite quote by Edmund Lee. Lee stated that, surround yourself with the dreamers and the doers, the thinkers and the believers, but most of all, surround yourself with those who see greatness within you and don't see it in yourself. Throughout these past 4 years, like Blanche said, like Chloe said, college is very, very hard. As a math major, I've spent too many nights working on math problems, just grinding through them. And so, going through all of that and various, especially this past year in terms of the racism that is becoming more apparent in American society, I've had a lot of troubles. I've struggled a lot with my self-worth. But alongside the other honors and talking to them and seeing how passionate they are about the work that they're doing, that has really reaffirmed my value, but also taught me that I have value regardless of whatever power structures dominate American society. Another important thing, last important thing that I'll share with you that I learned is the nature of community work and activism. And so I went to a talk yesterday by Noura Erakat, who was an American legal scholar, a professor at George Mason University, and a human rights lawyer. The talk was about investigating the war crimes that were committed during the war in Palestine this past summer. And so, basically, the punchline of this talk was that you aren't going to find justice through these really large, big institutions. They're far too politicized for you to get anything out of that. Instead, you're going to find justice from the bottom up. You're going to find justice through grassroots activism. So organizing protests, having those really difficult discussions, and things like the Black Lives Matter movements. And I got to see a big part of that at the beginning of this year that really defined my UNC experience these past 4 years. Zach, Melody, and I were initially stationed at Rogers Road. And because of their community center being closed the summer after our first year, we all got moved to different places, which is how Zach and I ended up at the Jackson Center. But because of that, so the Rogers Road community is a community that's had a long history of environmental injustice against them. In 1972, there was a the township of Kingston said, if you let us place a large landfill in your community for 10 years, we'll give you basic amenities, for example, sidewalks, street lamps, sewage and water, things of that nature. Well, the town of Sheffield did not hold up to that promise. Literally 40 years later, the Rogers community still did not have those amenities. And then I saw, through grassroots activism, through lots of passion, through gathering the community together, they were eventually able to achieve their goal. And I even got to see them, the opening of their brand new community center. And so that was an absolutely beautiful experience because I got to see the smiling faces of so many of the communities who'd struggled for so long. And with the knowledge that so many of those people would never get to see that result. And so that's also leads me to my next point, is that in activism and social work, you often don't get to see the work that you put in. You often don't get to see the hours, the long hours, the struggles, and everything of that nature. But getting to see the opening of the Rogers Community Center really taught me that despite not even seeing that result, or it may not be the result that you usually wanted, or what the result should be, the work is worthwhile. My time as a Bonner has been absolutely amazing. I realized with that event at Rogers Road that how all-encompassing this experience has been for me. And as the senior interns and really the Bonners can tell you, I'm pretty indecisive. I've changed my major a lot, as well as I've changed my career path a lot. And my dad is smiling because he also knows. But through the Bonner program, really everything else has been defined. And so because of the program, I really found out what I want my life to look like in the future, personally, academically, and career-wise. And so thanking Lucy and thanking Richard and thanking my fellow seniors for always supporting me. I couldn't imagine myself not being a part of this program. Thank you.
please bear with me as I share a few of my memories. As you can see from the rest of my fellow seniors who are already speaking, I could use a lot of words to describe our senior class. Quiet would not be one of them. So we really appreciate you listening to everything that we've had to say so far tonight. So much like the other seniors who've spoken before me, thinking about my last 4 years as of honor, certain memories and images and experience definitely stand out in my head above the rest, both because of the how unique those experiences were, but then also the lessons that I was able to learn from those experiences. And so I'd just like to share a few of those specific memories with you today that I know, in 5 weeks when we're graduating, in a year, in 10 years, in 50 years, I will be remembering in my head as when I think about my time at UNC and at the Y and with the Bible program. So the first one of these memories, sort of like Duran said, is at the first community center that we were located in, and that was the Rogers Road community. And specifically, I will always remember my very first day working at Rogers Road. I had very limited experience tutoring or working in communities before, and didn't quite know what to expect. But the one thing that I did know was that I was ready to walk in there, teach some struggling kids, become instant best friends, and immediately start changing their lives. So of course, as you can imagine, I walked in the creaky old screen door of this old house that was turned into the community center. And I sort of came in this over-energetic, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed white boy coming in here, ready to save the world. And so what I saw on the other side of that, thanks, Blanche. What I saw on the other side of that door was not, as you can imagine, a group of kids sitting down perfectly with their hands folded over their desk, just ready to soak in all the knowledge that I was going to give them. I saw a room full of people sort of, stop what they were doing, look me over once or twice and say, like, hey, how's it going? Like, can I help you with something? So from that moment on and throughout my first year at Rogers Road, with Duran and with Melanie, I learned the humility and the patience and the full long-term commitment that is not only important, but vitally necessary in doing sustainable work with the community. And I learned that not when I walked through that door immediately on that first day, but by forming relationships, as many other bonders have said, with the students that I was tutoring and with the staff members at Rogers Road. And this was a lesson that was learned not that first day, but over the course of weeks and months, and across the whole year, and even going back now as seniors to the new community center, to sort of prove to them that I was not just going to be another UNC student that was going to come in and try to fulfill a couple service hours and then leave forever. The second memory that stands out in my mind is from my experience at the Jackson Center. Like Duran said, that was the second place that we went. And that sort of came from completing the often dreaded task of walking around the Northside neighborhood for an hour or 2 or 6 every month, delivering the Northside News, which is a publication, sort of like a community newspaper that the Jackson Center publishes every month. So Duran and I would head out on what seemingly, at least in my memory when I'm recalling them, always either freezing days or sweltering hot days. So naturally, in either case, Duran was complaining about it. And we knock on the doors and deliver the monthly publication to all of the houses in our assigned area in the north side. Typically, the people wouldn't be home, or at least if they were home, they wouldn't be interested in talking with us for much more than necessary. But every once in a while, someone would start chit-chatting for a few minutes about the weather, or the Jackson Center, or the dang college kids that live next to them that always put their music too loud. And that conversation would turn into us sitting down on the front porch, talking for 5, 10, or even 30 minutes in some cases about life and kids and Korean War stories and ex-husbands, and really everything in between. So some of the names and faces of the people that I talked to while walking around those streets and delivering the Northside News have sort of already faded from my memory. But I know that I will always remember the lesson of never being too busy to just sit down and listen and be with people that they taught me on those freezing or sweltering afternoons. And lastly, I know that when I look back on the time that I spent in the Bible program, I will always remember the countless hours that I had the honor of spending with Duran, Harris, and Lucy around Lucy's small table in her office on Campus Y right across the way during our weekly planning meetings for this year as senior interns. And these happened every week, and they were generally between an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. And whether we were trying to think of any possible way to get people to fill out their damn session evaluations, which over the year we still don't know how to do, maybe letting cameras can figure something out next year that gets you guys to do that. Or joking about who would get Lucy's free coffee from the Anthony Lounge that week, having the opportunity to sit around that table for so many hours and to make those important decisions that would really form the organization that had already given me and continues to give me so much during my time at UNC is one that I will be forever grateful for. So I definitely would like to thank the two of you for being my co-senior interns in that. And then finally, of course, as everybody has already done, the last thing that I want to say before we wrap up the celebration today is to again take a second to recognize Lucy and all of the work that she has done for this program over the past 4 years, most of which I should definitely note goes completely unseen and unappreciated. And having been a senior intern this past year, I sort of caught just a small glimpse into the things that she does that we usually have no idea about. Lucy, you have been an incredible example for me for the unstoppable power of thoughtfulness, compassion, and patience, not only in leading a group of people and leading a group of very energetic and sometimes chaotic people, but also in building an incredible organization truly from the ground up, as we've already heard today. Speaking personally and on behalf of all of the seniors, and I'm sure all of us in the program, please know that your endless dedication is deeply appreciated. We really can never thank you enough. So thank you. So again, thank you so much for listening to us blabber on about how incredible our 4 years have been here with the Honor Program. With that, I'm going to hand it back over to Ron, who's going to wrap up our ceremony today.
Hi everybody, my name is Patrick, and I'm the Farm Food Chair. We'd like to start tonight by just thanking all of you for coming out and helping us celebrate. We've made it through 4 years of filling out Tim's. And combined, the seniors have done 541 days of continuous service, 24 hours a day. Tonight, I want to reflect a little bit on some of the big learning moments that I experienced as a Bonner. So my first year of Bonner, looking back, the main theme was diversity. I grew up in Chapel Hill since 4th grade. I thought I knew the area really well, but I was quickly proven wrong. The Bonner program and the Human Rights Center where I started exposed me to brand new communities and neighborhoods that I'd never been to in high school. It brought me close to people that I never would have interacted with, even if I had just been here at the UNC bubble. The surprising thing at the time was just how geographically close these communities were to myself growing up here in Chapel Hill. The friends I made at the HRC taught me how to be really sensitive when working with other cultures, but also how to have fun and play with these children. I found that playing and having fun, not with just the children, but with the adults, was a thing that all humans really love to do. And it made us so much more comfortable together, even when we couldn't even speak the same language. My second year at Bonner, it really started to expose me to the instability that nonprofits had from that perspective. The HRC, when we worked, lost its building, and we were forced to move out and go somewhere else. This was extremely scary to me as a sophomore Bonner, but it all worked out in the end. The event also started to change how I viewed direct volunteering and made me see how important having sustainable funding was for an organization. I saw how important safe environment and financial support was to actually give this aid to the community and be able to serve them with what they told us they needed. The second year did also have some bright spots. Myself, the HRC Bonner team, stepped up and we started the Fun Fridays program, where we could spend not just Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with the children, but also Friday. We started playing and learning new ways, which is amazing. As leaders, we also learned how not to do a lot of things, but thankfully I guarantee all the children are still alive and well, and I've moved on to school. In my third year, I fully transitioned into Farm Food Chair, which I've been working with in a limited capacity before. I I worked pretty much exclusively with my boss on a wholesale fresh food market where we sold food for farmers and brought it to nonprofits. Looking back, I had so much fun with this, and it was just an amazing experience. I learned so much about running a small business. But my favorite part was that I got to wake up on Saturday mornings after spending night with my friends late on Friday to drive the farm butcher van to farmers. I'm getting to do that again tomorrow morning, and I'm seriously really excited. Getting to interact with the farmers and talk to them is truly amazing. So finally, this last year, I feel like I got to take a full circle. I got to run a Bonner workshop with some of the other Bonner students, and I again learned a lot of ways I could improve. It was the first time I've ever done that. It was just an amazing experience being on the other side of Monday night meeting. So after 4 years, I'm fully convinced the Bonner program is the best possible way that I spend my time at UNC. I would recommend it to anyone who wants to build meaningful relationships, especially deeply in the community. I want to close with a shout out, because everyone else to Lucy and Richard. This is the best way I spend my time in Carolina, and I can truly not imagine my Carolina experience without the Bonner program. So thank you so much.
Next up, we'll hear from Scale.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Chloe Imus, and I have worked at the Human Rights Center for the past 4 years, and now I'm about to graduate. So just first and foremost, I just want to say thanks for being here. We don't have that many opportunities to try to explain to our friends and family what the Bonner program means to us, especially after 4 years of it. So we're really excited to be here and talk to you guys. So all the Bonners graduating here right now know that a short 2-minute reflection of the Bonner program is practically impossible. It's really hard to communicate an experience that was so unique to many of our peers. And it's so different than what other people saw. So first, I like to think about the first night, just like a lot of people do. It was conference room 108 in the campus Y with the 3 post-it notes on the wall. I remember sitting down next to Hannah Jessen, who I didn't know at the time that she was going to become a really big part of my Carolina experience. By the end of the night, I signed up to work for the Human Rights Center of Chapel Hill at Scarborough, but only because it fit with my class schedule. I got really lucky though, because I ended up loving it. The next week, we took the J bus to Abbey Court because somehow our senior intern, Jacqueline, convinced us that it wasn't too confusing for our small freshman minds to try to navigate the bus system in Chapel Hill. So we showed up to this apartment complex, and it was only 10 minutes away from our campus, but it really felt like another world. I mean, we were used to seeing all these students around us all the time, and we were finally interacting with the real community who is always here, and not just here for the 4 years that students go through. So topically, we just approached some kids, and we always said was, do you have any homework that we can help you with today? So with that, our work at the partner sites began. The HRC became a huge part of my life, and slowly but surely it really stepped into my blood and became a part of me. Like Blanche was saying, college is a really hard 4 years. It's very intense. And so similarly, I felt like the kids that I would work with every day at the HRC were really like they're like my backbone and my constants that really kept my head in check every week, even when I was going through the hardest times. And now at graduation time, while some of my friends are always asking how they're going to keep in touch with all their classmates and all these dear friends they've made through Carolina, I keep on thinking about the kids I'm working with every day at the HRC, who, they don't even have a Facebook, so we'll see how that goes. Only time's going to tell. But I'm going to come back to the campus Y, and I know I'll come back to the Bonners, I'll come back to Lucy, and I'll come back to the HRC, to the kids. I'll come back to show them how all of our special experiences, 3 of them really stick out in particular to me. 3, there's several. Our freshman year, we developed a community garden at the HRC, and we had this one day of work to make 2 raised bed gardens. My father came and he donated plants from our farm in Surrey County. We had members of the Chapel Community volunteering. We
We had other students from UNC volunteering, and we had all the kids with us. It was a really special time. Besides that, something really awesome that's happened this year was when President Obama changed some of his deferred action for childhood immigrants policy. His change really affected directly the kids that I work with, because if he had not done that, one of the families that we've been working with for 4 years would have split up. The oldest child, who was undocumented, would have stayed in the United States, where the two youngest children would have gone back to Mexico. So just going to work that day and then hearing that amazing information and having the kids run to us and tell us that they're staying really, just like made our entire 4 years. So the Bonner program has given me a lot. It's led me to so many people. It's influenced me to design my own research project about critiquing volunteer methods. And it's also given me so many technical skills. There's grant writing, meeting facilitation, and of course we all know the buzzwords by now. But every single one of us know that the most lasting impressions are definitely going to be the people we've met, the relationships we've created, and the way they made us feel. So just in closing, I really just want to give the most heartfelt gratitude I possibly can explain to Lucy and Richard for giving me the best mentorship I could ever ask for these past 4 years. My parents for supporting me whenever I call them, really stressed out, freaking out about school and everything else going on. And of course the Bonners, just an amazing relationship. No one has this kind of bond after 4 years. And I'm just really proud to have been a part of the first Bonner program. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Hannah Justin, and I too have worked at the Human Rights Center these last 4 years. So in preparing for this speech, I went back to the beginning and I read my application to the Bonner program from the summer of 2011, and I'm glad to say the journalism school has served me well, and my writing has improved. But one quote I used that still sticks out to me was by Scott Fitzgerald. And he said, "You don't write because you want to say something, you write because you have something to say." And when I included that quote 4 years ago in my application, I didn't know what I wanted to say. I loved writing, but I was searching for something to write passionately about, to connect with. My experience with the Bonner program helped me to find that, and I found it through relationships. When I came to UNC, finding community was important to me. I came from a small school, and I was scared I wouldn't find my niche here. And as weeks and semesters go on, classes and dorms and roommates change, ambitious fall fest clubs are neglected, and people graduate and study abroad, and relationships naturally change. But one consistent home I always had was the campus-wide, specifically the Bonner program. A group of people who are like-minded in some ways, and yet totally diverse in others, as you can probably see. We all changed, but we changed together in great ways I didn't think possible my first year when I interviewed for a pilot program at the YMCA. Not only were my relationships at the Y consistent over my 4 years here, but my relationships with the community. The first time I took the dreaded J bus to Abbey Court, I didn't know that some of the deepest relationships I'd formed would be with elementary students, or with migrant families, or with a Hispanic lady who works the sandwich bar at the dining hall. We had the unique privilege of seeing the kids in the tutoring program grow up, and we experienced all those growing pains with them. Everything from tears and scraped knees to new siblings being born, from good and bad homework days to lost teeth, literally lost teeth dropped on the floor. And of course, we got lots and lots of hugs that somehow always made a terrible Monday get better. I'll never forget the sound of their voices yelling our names as we got off the bus to greet them. Those kids, along with these two standing beside me, and Patrick, made the HRC a second home. So now as I prepare to start my first internship as a journalist this fall, I know what I want to say because of my time here. I want to continue to work with Latino migrants in the States, specifically children, like the ones we've been working with, and just continue to do justice work in general, something I cared about even more after seeing the passion of my peers here and working at HRC. So I'm so thankful that the Lord led me to this program, to these people, and to this community, where I developed into the woman I am today. Thank you.
get a chance to look at our beautiful Bonner yearbook, you'll see that my colleagues selected me most likely to be a sarcastic Greek philosopher. So today I'm not going to be at all sarcastic. I'm definitely going to be Greek, and I'll give you some pseudo-philosophical things that I learned. Number one, I think the most important thing that I learned throughout my time here was and through the mentorship of the Bonner program, is the real impact that a role model can have in your life. And not a role model as in a family member, but somebody maybe who's in your career field you can look at and who's objectively telling you what to do and where you can improve. So I didn't really realize that impact of role models in my life until I realized that I was the role model for some of the kids, and Hannah and Chloe definitely were for more of the kids. When we were thinking about how to help them, we realized that oftentimes the people in the community who need the help the most are the most reluctant to ask because they're very prideful, they're very intrinsically motivated. So if you want to actually make a difference in the community, I've learned the number one step is to listen. Because only through listening are you going to develop some type of program that can help, and then you offer that hand to those people and see if they accept it. The impact of that one person, that one role model then, is not just on one unit. It's on the family unit. It's on a mother who sees her child doing better and thinks that all the sacrifices that she had from a socioeconomically disadvantaged background is paying off, or a younger sibling who sees their older brother able to conquer these math feats that they didn't think. So that inspires everybody in the community. It's not just a one-way street. And through that, and through seeing how much it meant to these kids, for us to be there for them and for them to be there for us, the Bonner program for me has personally allowed me to develop a lot of empathy, something that I lacked completely when I came to UNC. For other people, I thought that everything was winners and losers. So either you were a loser or you were a winner, and I'm always a winner, so forget the losers I thought, right? Until I experienced a bunch of bosses and I realized how important it was to engage in this type of mutual information sharing with people, to recognize that even if you think you're a loser and a bad role model for somebody out there, they look forward to seeing you every day and they start mimicking your mannerisms. So that's something really impactful that I realized, that we can, each of us as individuals, enact some type of change that you wouldn't believe was possible. So you may not think you're a great role model, but you are to a lot of people. And then to end, I'd like to, of course, thank Ms. Lucy and Mr. Richard, and all of the people who have been involved in the infrastructure of the Bonner program. It's proved a very transformative experience for me. Working with kids allowed me to realize that I want to be a professor when I grow up and teach older kids. So moving forward, that's what I want to do, and I would have never gotten there to that realization without a lot of support and mentorship along the way. And I consider Ms. Lucy and Mr. Richard really important role models of mine, and I hope that I'll be a role model to someone else in the future because of them. So thanks so much for your time.